I saw that. And the
it's
fingers
exact
were
thought I had
pointed.
this
Oh, I didn't see.
morning.
What happened? What happened?
Evidently, he's a tech person.
And I had the same exact thought this morning, was that he could help, so. But
Good morning,
Wow.
and good morning to our Facebook Live family who has just joined us here at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Boston. And there is joy in the air right now because technology may be becoming a wondrous and a joyous thing that is out of my hands. That would be great. Anyway,
Share with
don't be
those-
overwhelmed, Chris. It's just an exciting ask and you shall receive.
Share with
right?
your Facebook family.
Yeah, really put him on the spot. Make
I
sure
know.
that-
No, I'm not going to put you on the spot. All right, so we are coming to you today live from 50 Dudley Street in snowy,
Very
still
snowy.
snowing, in snowy Cambridge, Massachusetts. And of course, you know me, I'm Rev G. Stewart, and along with Rev Ed Tansey, we're the founders and spiritual leaders of this amazing community of joy and beauty and perfection and wholeness.
And opulence.
And warmth and opulence. We accept all of that. So at the center, we learn and practice what? The science of mind philosophy. I bet you guys have this down by now. Anyway. Which is the study of life and the laws of thought and how we use those in our lives. So it's a very important thing. So here at this community, we are an amazing philosophy of science of mind, and we serve many people in this community, but we also serve people in our Facebook Live family. So we welcome all of you to certainly look into our information at cslboston.org, and we ask that if you are being spiritually fed in our community, that you consider us as a part of your prosperity, circulation, or tithing practice, which you can do right there at the website at cslboston.org at the donate button. So our 2019 CSL theme is spirituality in action. And interestingly enough, this month is integrity. I am truthful in facts and motives. And it was so interesting because your reading this morning, man, was really beautiful about that, talking about our motives and how we are part of that. So I thought that was just very powerful. And today's talk is how God works through us. Yes, we are channels of that divine energy, are we not?
Yes.
Indeed we are. You know, the joy for me of Science of Mind was when I realized that the divine presence, the universal, the infinite, the Mother, Father, God, whatever we want to call it, is not outside of us, but instead it's within us, right?
Right.
Isn't that a great thing to recognize and realize? For me, it was like life-changing and life-altering. Because it was like something that I innately knew for a long time was now affirmed by a community that said, you're right. It is within you. It is there. It's all that you are. And that is so powerful when we realize that. And that it is also in all things. It is as all things, and it is through all things. And I love that it is in the animate and the inanimate. So the very chair you're sitting on is vibrating God energy to hold you up, which is just so awesome. So it's not only this, but I can also tap into that infinite mind. And I can receive guidance and clarity for a higher good experience in my life. That's even better. That's an even greater opportunity that we have. And so how do I actually do this? How do I use this power? It is by aligning with the universal mind, becoming in alignment with my divine good, which is always there, but it's up to me to align with it and to accept the gift. And so it's more than just aligning with the universal mind. It is understanding what Ernest Holmes tells us in the quote, this is the quote for the month of March, which I just think is so beautiful. Many people may be under the mistaken concept that the metaphysical philosophy is attractive to people because it says God is good and everything is all right. Therefore, there is nothing to fear. He goes on to say, this is far from the truth. What it says is this: do you wish to be loved? Then stop hating. Do you want to be happy? Then be sure that you are never the occasion for unhappiness in others. Wow. Powerful truths that we can always use in our lives, right? It's a powerful truth that he's really telling us something new. Not new here, but it's recognizing that it's more than just that there is this divine energy that is about all good. It's that we need to align ourselves with it if we want to receive the good, right? If I'm not in alignment with it, then what's going to show up in my life? Anybody had this happen? The doo-doo, right? The step in the pile of dog poop. And that's how it feels sometimes. So it's very important to recognize that. So this means that I am not only to align myself with the infinite one mind, I also need to clean up what's going on in my human mind, right? Got to work on that stuff, because it ain't too pretty sometimes. You know, Ernest Holmes reminds us of that when he talks about this. All our work begins and ends in our consciousness, because mind is all there is. So powerful. So powerful. Because it's all about our consciousness. How am I showing up in the world? So it's just such a beautiful quote. I just love that. Now here's the interesting thing. You know, Ernest Holmes said this so many years ago, and yet science is always kind of like catching up. Is always catching up to what we've been doing and teaching for a long time, what this organization has been all about. So here's an interesting thing that took place 2 decades ago by 40 scientists, including Dan Siegel, a professor of psychiatry at UCLA School of Medicine, came up with this definition of our mind. I love this. This was a meeting of 40 scientists across disciplines, including neuroscientists, physicists, sociologists, and anthropologists, that they came to this understanding of the mind. After much discussion, they decided that a key component of the mind is the emergent self-organizing process, both embodied and relational, that regulates energy and information flow within and among us. Doesn't that sound like a scientific explanation of the mind? It seems like it's overwhelming, but if we really look at it, you can simplify all that. So science it's a scientific way of saying that our brain is not our mind. Think about it. To me, it has always been that my brain is like the receptor of the one mind. So the emergent self-organizing the emergent self-organizing process, both embodied and rational, relational, that regulates energy and information flow within and among us. So it's beyond our own mind, is it not? It's moving beyond that. So thank you for that slide. And that came from the Quark magazine online, which was just an amazing and interesting thing. So this is what Ernest Holmes has been teaching for years, right? Long before these scientists got together and said, oh, by the way, this is what the mind is, right? Ernest was already there. He already got that. That we are more than just this physical body. We are more than the brain that holds our consciousness, which is powerful when you think about it. The brain is holding our consciousness, and yet we are also one with everything else. So it's much more than that. So for me, my brain is like a little receptor. It's like those, when they show the brain working in those commercials, that they want to sell you something that's going to make your brain work better, but they show the little synapses connecting electronically. That's what like my brain is one of those receptors of God, and it's connecting like that. So that for me is like a really good visual to help you really get into that place. So our mind is not confined to just our skull. It's much bigger than that. It's much greater than that. Our definition of God is one mind, one infinite intelligence. The divine is not dictating what we are to do or say or be. That's important. It's not dictating to us any of those things. Instead, it is an infinite intelligence of perfection and wholeness that exists within every cell of my body, my mind, and my being. And your body, and your mind, and your being. And it's something that I can tap into, and I can connect with. We often say here that each one of us is an individualized expression of the one absolute mind, right? We share that all the time. And it's a good reminder, because you have to kind of like work on remembering that. So when we ask this question, how does God work through us, we need to start where? Within, right? It's within. We start within, which means listening to the still small voice, the indwelling presence, right? That's where we need to start. And so it's really important to recognize that. So from here, it becomes not a question of what do I want, instead, what wants me? Think about that. What wants me? That's an important realization. When I first got into this study of the principles of metaphysics, I, possibly like many of you, was all about what I wanted or the best results or what I could get. We kind of start there, which of course comes to us from the law of attraction, right? Because that's what gets us kind of interested. It's like, well, wait a minute, you mean I can have a better life and I can co-create it, or I can create it? But when I create it, I noticed that it didn't always get me the best results. Because I found that I was outlining or telling God what I wanted, rather than really going within and saying, I could have even more than that if I'm willing to surrender into and trust this divine energy, which is inexhaustible. And I found that when I was trying to co-create with God, and I was really creating what I was telling God what I was co-creating, I was exhausted. Because I was always working at trying to make something happen that I didn't need to do. I could relax and trust the process. This is when I discovered the process of visioning, which I found to be so powerful. Now, it didn't mean that I couldn't still affirm and make my intentions known, but I could get input into my intentions and my affirmations to make them stronger and more powerful for what I wanted in my life. I could grow into a greater level of being. And I could really be listening to that still small voice and letting it guide me to the best place to be. I also noticed that as I got deeper and deeper into this study, that my prayers became more about clarity and guidance rather than what I wanted to have, do, or be. It became more about, what do I need to know? How do I need to show up? Who am I in the world? So to me, conflict is an opportunity to go deeper and to find what I need to understand to provide the best I have to offer this community and the world as a minister. And I think each of us, as practitioners of this teaching, which means you're practicing it, that we're all trying to bring forward the best that we can to the world, are we not? That's what it's about. So, when conflict arises, as it often does in a spiritually evolving community such as this, I go immediately to spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, our form of scientific prayer, and then I go to meditation to listen for the answers. Because I always love to say that prayer is talking to God, and meditation is listening to God. And those are the two important things in our lives. Now, some of you may have heard me say that I need to do my spiritual work before I can respond to something you say or something you do or something that's going on. And I do this because if I show up in my old woundedness, it serves no one. Is that not true? Right. I show up in my woundedness. And a dear friend of ours just recently said that, we tend to sometimes show up in the world from all of our past family experience. We tend to drag that in with us wherever we go. And so that's where our healing work is, right? Our healing work is to clean up all that old past stuff and find a place of being neutral and just being ourselves without dragging all that baggage with us. And that's so important. So I have even been condemned by some in this community for saying that I needed to do my work first before I could help you. And I felt sad that individuals didn't understand the importance and the power, and what we teach here is that we do our work first before we go into the world or to each other. You know, something you learn in practitioner studies, which is coming up for our Prac 2 students, is that when there's a conflict, you need to first go to prayer. And then if prayer doesn't clear up or bring forward what you need, you go to a practitioner. And then if that doesn't clear it up, you can go to your minister. And then you go to the individual who may have caused the conflict in your life. Because it's all about communication. It's all about communicating from our hearts. And that is an important thing to realize. So when I do my work, then I show up in love. What I like to call agape love. Divine love. The true love. I find it very helpful to say to myself before I respond to someone, and I think this is a great thing to do, what would love say or what would love do? You know, I steal that from the Christians who say, you know, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus say? But what would love do? You know, there was something that just recently, it was on Facebook from Centers for Spiritual Living, and it was saying the difference between our community and the fundamental community was that some look to the scriptures to define love. We look to love to define the scriptures.
That was a cartoon.
It was a cartoon, and it was
that.
Centers for Spiritual Living, which is what we're about.
Yeah.
That's who we are.
Yeah.
You know,
Facebook.
and so all of life is love and law. And this is a great quote from Ernest Holmes. Love is the way, and law makes the way possible. Law is automatic. We don't even have to think about the law. It's been working for us all along. Sometimes not so good, sometimes so good. But if I'm love, if love is the way, and law makes the way possible, then I want to be the love. That's what I want to be feeding into the law. Is who I am as an expression of divine love. So I just love that quote because it just reminds me of that. So in the book of the month for March, which is The Inward Journey by Howard Thurman, he states this, and I love this statement. There is a profound ground of unity that is more pertinent and authentic than all the unilateral dimensions of our lives. This a person discovers when they are able to keep open the door of their heart. This is one's ultimate responsibility, and it is not dependent upon whether the heart of another is kept open to us. I need to be the love despite what's coming at me, or what appears to be coming at me, because you know it's just an appearance, and that we can move through it. And that's the power. Brilliant man. What a statement of truth. That this is what it's about. Ultimately, it's about love, and love is opening our hearts, is it not? If I am in a place of divine love, I can't help but have an open heart. And that's where I want to be. You know, it's so interesting. Thank you for the slide. It's so interesting. The universe keeps showing up in so many ways in my life. And I just have to say this because I'm working on this talk, right, and all of this. And in the Science Mind magazine, I'm way behind on my reading of all the articles. This is December of 2017. But the universe knows exactly what I need, when I need it, and it shows up, right? I just happened to turn to this morning.
Yeah.
I happened to turn to it this morning. And so, and this is from Pope Francis. And I just love this. It's a whole article about him because he was our spiritual leader that year. And he talks about mindfulness and divine mind and all of this, but he cautions us. Yet, Francis would caution that our intellect is only part of who we are. In fact, our thoughts can often get in the way of our hearts. big one. And this can prevent us from helping those less fortunate. The heart, mystics believe, is the true center of our spiritual intelligence. A truly open heart is never wrong. Pope Francis discerns the difference when, for example, he urges us to emulate the Virgin Mary, who, when in the presence of a miracle, didn't think it over in her mind, but instead pondered it in her heart. The lesson here is that mindfulness is good, and coupled with heartfulness, it can lead to a powerful union of the head and the heart, ultimately leading to union with God. Just gives me God. To be in that place of, yes, be in mindfulness, but to be in heartfulness. I love that phrase. Am I in heartfulness? So what I'm going to ask is I'm going to ask Rev Ed to come up and read an article, because there was a recent decision of the United Methodist Church that was a closed-hearted decision, I guess you can call it, of excluding our gay and lesbian and so on and so forth. He'll explain the whole thing. But Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, who is the spiritual leader for Centers for Spiritual Living, came forward with this press release for us, and I think in a way for us to heal our consciousness around what's going on in their community. Because it's basically putting communities who have decided to be open to gay people, they will have to leave the church if they want to continue to be open in that way. So,
And what community is this?
United
Yep.
Methodist Churches.
So before I begin reading this, when I read this, I have to say, I was so grateful and proud to be a minister in this philosophy after I read what Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon said, who was our the leader and the head of this organization. So this was Centers for Spiritual Living's open and affirmative response to the United Methodist Church vote to exclude LGBTQIA clergy and deny marriage to their LGBTQIA members. Okay, so this is what he wrote. We believe in oneness and wholeness is the very nature of infinite omnipresence, divine reality, God. Our philosophy, the science of mind, accepts and includes all life, all beings, and all creation as the very body of God. We celebrate the diversity of life as the expression of the infinite nature and revel in the impulse of love that bursts forth in every aspect of life, from the different flowers in the backyard to the variety of trees in our forests, fish in the seas, birds in the air, and animals that roam our lands. This is the expression of the infinitely loving creation in all its glory. As the ancient mystic in the Hebrew creation story Genesis teaches us, all creation is originally blessed, for it is good. Because of this deep faith in our oneness with all life, Science of Mind and Centers for Spiritual Living are open and affirming. We not only accept, we celebrate our uniqueness and our diversity, including LGBTQIA in our communities. We affirm our LGBTQIA clergy and support all our clergy performing same-sex marriage. We stand for each and every LGBTQIA person, no matter their faith path, religion, or spirituality. We believe profoundly in loving our neighbors as we love ourselves, which includes acceptance rather than judgment. loving words rather than hateful speech, and deep respect for how love shows up in each individual. We live in a time when many faith traditions are struggling with doctrines from another time. Doctrines which are often unwelcoming, particularly to the LGBTQIA communities. While religious principles may not change over time, religious doctrine must evolve and concepts of morality evolve toward a greater capacity for love, compassion, and acceptance. While this may be a struggle for some, it is the right path to take, for no religion can be consistent to its principles and be moving away from love. To love God as God is understood and to love one another are the greatest commandments of the scriptures of all religions. To our LGBTQIA brothers and sisters everywhere, you are precious to life. You are a beautiful expression of love. You are an outlet for creativity like no one else. You are blessed as you are. You are a blessing wherever you go. You cannot be denied or excluded from the divine presence. Your expression of personhood is beloved by the One, for it is unique and perfect for you. You may be belittled, ridiculed, or shamed for your sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expression, but there is no truth to the names you may be called or the things you may be accused of. Only love and light emanate from the heart of the one infinite divine life. And in that, you are absolutely included. Never doubt that you belong in life to life. We are committed to a world that works for everyone, and all are welcome in support of this vision. Dr. Ken Gordon and the CSL Spiritually Motivated Engagement Committee. After I read that, I said, I know that I'm in the right place and I'm a minister in the right organization because it is all love. And I thought Reverend Ken just said it so beautifully. It really touched my heart. Thank you.
So the answer to the question, how does God work through us? We just saw how God works through Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon, who is an amazing speaker.
Yes.
And actually we'll have an opportunity to see him later on today because we're going to be showing you some excerpts from the virtual convention. But when we ask that question, what do we need to do? We need to show up in love. We need to nurture ourselves with our spiritual practices. We need to listen and follow the divine guidance within that is always available to us. When we shut out some of the earthly noise, we move within and we do that. And as stated earlier, the clear message from Ernest Holmes is, do you wish to be loved? Then stop hating. Do you want to be happy? Then be sure that you are never the occasion for unhappiness in others. Love means to love everyone, even those who have chosen the path of separation consciously, because that gives the opportunity for us to reach out in love. Like that quote from Howard Thurman, which was basically that we have to be open-hearted, and that the individual we're open-hearted to doesn't have to be open-hearted either. That by being that open-hearted love, by doing this, we open the opportunity for all to step into their highest yet to be. Let's join together and be that love. Namaste.
Please join me now in this spiritual mind treatment. In this talk that we just heard, I know without any hesitation or doubt that there is only one mind, one presence, one spirit, one God that is in, through, and around each one of us, as us, right here and right now. That this God, this presence, is love, is kindness, generosity of spirit, all good things that pour forth in an endless, infinite generosity to feed and elevate all things, to bring us to a greater yet to be. And I know that I am one with this presence, that I am an individualized expression of God, as is each one of us here today, each one of us that is listening, each one of us throughout all of creation is part of this divine outflowing of love and divinity into form. We are that. Therefore, I know that as we choose to be in alignment with this love, this pouring forth, this flow of divine love energy, that we are elevated, that our consciousness comes together in bringing about a higher level of love for all of creation, a higher expression and experience of love. And we choose, as we choose to hold this consciousness of love, kindness, generosity in our hearts and minds, it resonates with that which is within all other hearts and minds, touching and bringing alive, activating, bringing into form more love, more kindness, more generosity of spirit. And this love and kindness is very good. It is part of our reason for being here, being present, is to express and to embody the divinity which we are. And I'm so grateful that I know this to be true for myself, and as I know this to be true for me, I know that this is true for all of us, and I am so grateful that this knowingness of the love that is flowing in, through, and around each one of us is real. It is true for me, and it is true for each one of us. And because it is so, I release this treatment into the law, where it comes into expression more fully, more completely, more vibrantly, activated by our collective intention and commitment. And more love is generated and brought into being. And as I know this is so, I exclaim with confidence and gratitude and celebration and invite you to join me in saying, and so
so
it is.
Beautiful, thank you. So let's join together in our affirmation. Let's read this together. I say yes, and then step aside and listen. I allow my intuitive nature to align with the perfection and wholeness of spirit as I allow great vision of my life to come into view. Yes, let's do that again. We need to claim it. I say yes, and then step aside and listen. I allow my intuitive nature to align with the perfection and wholeness of spirit as I allow a great vision of my life to come into view.
Right now.
I love that. Beautiful. Claiming it, declaring it, and so it is.
So it is.
So now is the time to welcome our guests, which we don't have any today. So.
The snowman outside.
The snowman outside. And we're going to bid adieu to our Facebook Live family.
Yes.